I'll call to order the February
Recording in
13th
progress.
Public Works meeting. Can I get a roll call, please?
Chairman Weggie,
Here.
Alderwoman Tice, absent. Alderman Gould,
Here.
Alderman Erger.
Here.
Great,
Have a
thank you.
quorum.
Go on to agenda approval. Any changes? Seeing none, we'll approve by acclamation. Any citizen comment?
No, sir.
All right, we'll move on to report of the committee care. All I have is that we're going to try and move this fast so Alderman Gould can get his daughter to soccer practice, because I've been there and done that. So that's all I have. Nothing from Nancy. Jeff?
That's in 2 hours, so we don't have to go
Well,
that fast, but yeah,
You know
understood.
how these things go.
No report.
Sullivan?
No report.
Awesome. All right, we have no city administrator report. Let's move into department reports. Parks and Rec. Got some good stuff on here.
Good evening. How's everyone doing?
Hey, Eric, we can hear you great.
Perfect. So my first one is the Brentwood Middle School Fun Run. This is the run that the middle school did during Brentwood Days last year. We talked about it as a staff. We thought everything went really well for us on the city side. So we recommend allowing the middle school to do that again this year.
Do you need action on that or anything?
I believe we just need action just to say that we approve letting them run, use the pavilion and run through the park.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay.
Great. Second is we got another sort of request from Mount Calvary. Mount Calvary is organizing a fundraiser for their preschool, and they're hoping to use the Brentwood Park Pavilion for the event. We've done similar events for the Brentwood School District, but since this is Mount Calvary, which is a different organization, we need to bring that to you guys for approval. I think it would be a good rental. I think it'd be good to kind of provide this to them, but also kind of let them understand that it's not not going to be a regular occurrence. So say, hey, this is great for you guys to let them use it this year. And then if they want to have additional ones, maybe come back to you guys at that time to see what we should do.
Great. Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to support Mountain Calvary preschool request.
I'll second that.
All right. Any other comments, questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great.
Great. And just so, because I think I forgot to mention, we will still charge them the staff cost, which is what we do with the school district. So they would have to pay for the staff person who's there.
Yeah.
Next is BMP maintenance and native prairie stewardship. Just MSD is requiring on any project these days to have BMP facilities. It's one of those things that they are really pushing as part of the EPA regulations. So this is kind of something they've been doing for like last 10 years. And just so you guys know, we have 6 separate BMPs in Brentwood Park itself. And so I kind of listed all of them down there. My favorite is that we have a BMP at the Overlook, where basically there's 2 areas of minted soils that we have to continue to track throughout the year. And that's, like I said, that's kind of my favorite. But it also requires an annual report. And because that is something in the past, all of those MSD reports were run by Public Works, but these BMPs are a little bit more select by nature. And so Dan suggested we hire someone out last year, which is what we did. We hired a company called Stormwater STL. They did the reporting for us. And as we move forward, we think it'd be good to put out an RFP for this service and maybe some more specialized BMP maintenance and even some native prairie, kind of get an on-call for kind of natural areas like this. So that way we have someone that we can contact on a regular basis. And so we've advertised an RFP for this, and we'll be bringing back a formal recommendation next month.
Yeah, Jeff?
How extensive does this report need to be? Because it just seems like it's something that, it doesn't seem like it would be that difficult to do, and why wouldn't staff or you be able to handle that?
Some of the things that they ask for, the requirements, are a little bit above my staff's expertise. Some of the things they ask for, which is basically a report on the soils and some of the plantings and things like that.
So like digging a hole and testing how quick it drains out, things like that?
Yep, exactly.
Again, that's not overly specialized. I'm just wondering if we would need an RFP to have another company evaluate these areas for us. I'm just curious on why we would want to spend money on an RFP for that.
When I talked to my staff, they didn't feel comfortable with the knowledge of what's behind there. I can do a little bit more research and have that for you next month.
Yeah, maybe just
Make
an example of the type
Yep.
of report and the different things, the different skill sets that are needed that kind of prove that, hey, this is above and beyond simply digging a hole and filling it with water and timing how long it drains out, things like that.
I'll have that for you next month.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem. And the last thing I had is the beer garden RFP. We did put out an RFP, like I said, for the beer garden. We did not receive any responses to the RFP. I did reach out to Rockwell since they're the ones who kind of started this whole process, being interested in being down there. They mentioned that they expressed some staffing concerns right now and a preference for a year-round facility. And they said they're still interested, it's just the timing wasn't right. So at this point, I think, until we go a few more years and see how operations go and maybe some of the redevelopment, we kind of let that kind of go for now. But disappointing that no one put out a response for it. But in the same right, it wasn't something that we're really focused on or really something that we had to have this next year. So I'm okay.
Any comments? Yeah, too bad, but good try.
Yeah, we'll try again at some point.
Okay, Eric,
That
I
was
think that's it. Great.
For that report, yes.
Okay, and we'll move on to SUSCOM.
So sustainability, a couple things. The Green Business Challenge, we this on December 17th, the staff, so Michelle Boyer, myself, and a member of the Sustainability Commission went to the awards luncheon. It was a great event. It was down at City Park, I guess Energizer Park now, and they talked about how they are a zero waste facility. So that was interesting to see how they do that. But more importantly, all the presentations on the sustainability efforts of the teams, including the city of Brentwood, was discussed during that meeting. So I did attach the full book as well as the dedicated page for the city of Brentwood in board docs. Ripple Glass, the Ripple Glass recycling bin has been installed or has been put out at 288 Hanley Industrial Court. Staff has already posted something on social media, and we'll continue to provide periodic updates to kind of push its use. I've not been out there since it's been placed, but I know it got some shares on social media and it's gotten some good feedback so far.
Yeah, Jeff?
Yeah, I went by and checked it out. Obviously the placement of it isn't something that we would want to keep as a full-time placement when we start doing, potentially taking over that building. But I think that it's a good start. One of the things that I believe we may need to do, and this is maybe something the Sustainability Commission can take up, is further education on why, and actually Burkhamper did a good job of responding to one of the comments, but why this is an added value for the city as it relates to glass recycling and how it benefits the city in some ways. It also ensures that glass actually gets recycled. I think there was also, it spurred some questions from some folks of, well, if maybe glass doesn't get recycled when we do the single sort, what confidence do we have in all other recycling? So I think just a little bit more depth of education, and maybe that's something we can talk to Michelle about, getting out there from the city's perspective of why this is a good partnership.
We are planning on some of those things. We wanted to make sure in talking to the social media person, our marketing person, we wanted to make sure that the location got out first and foremost. There's actually a really good story, it is either in the Post or the Business Journal a couple weeks ago that we're going to share as well. That talks about the benefits of it, and we'll talk about some of the city benefits as well. So this isn't going to be the only social media stuff we do. We're going to do more of a series that will help do some of that stuff. But
Good.
I'll get her to push the benefit one out a little bit quicker.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. Another thing is more informational, but the 2025 Sustainability Plan priorities, last month, the commission set its priorities for 2025. I put the sustainability plan worksheet in board docs, and it just kind of highlights what the commission would like staff in the city to work on. So anything that is unfinished from last year, as well as anything with green dots, are the priorities that the commission wants staff to work on. We did talk about this at a management team meeting last week, so all of the staff is ready and we're going to start working on things. The one thing I will say is it's a very robust list. And one of the things we talked about at Sustainability Commission is that while the city's happy to kind of continue to work on these priorities, there's no guarantee we can get all of it done. And they were understanding of that. To just, again, it's just kind of the next steps of what they want to see the city do.
Yeah, no action there, just informational only,
Yep.
right? Yep.
Yep. And the last one is kind of one that we'll need a quick discussion on, which is the Brentwood Recreation Complex Energy Project. So as you guys know, we did a energy audit of all the city facilities, including the new Public Works building. And one of the big things that really came out of that energy audit was 3 recommendations. One is solar panels at both the rec complex and at the police station, a new transformer at the rec complex. And then ultimately what they said about the public works facility is, as you guys go through and do the renovation of it, really focus on energy updates at that time. So not to do anything now, but really build that into kind of the renovation. So with that being said, that really leaves kind of those 3 projects, 2 at the rec center and 1 at the police station. So the total was a little bit over $1 million, 920,000 for the rec complex and 177 for the police station. So the next step is kind of build that into the city's budget and really focus on trying to find a time to get those projects done. But we were contacted by Verigy, the company that we hired, and they recommended moving forward this project this year if the city wants to take advantage of the 30% Inflation Reduction Act tax credit. It is their opinion that that tax credit is going to go away at the end of this year. So basically, I think it's some of the things you've heard coming from Washington with the new president. I did talk to Verigy, and talked about the impacts of the recent executive orders on the IRA. They confirmed that the tax credit remains in effect, and based on their accounting firm's analysis, that any project initiated for legislative changes would likely still qualify. And they couldn't give me that 100% guarantee, but that's the way it's happened in the past. But they basically said that we can't guarantee that the Congress doesn't do something that says we're going to eliminate tax credits right now. So there's kind of 2 parts to this. One is, does the Public Work Committee think that we should try to fit in this solar panel project at the rec center while that tax credit's there? So give or take the 921,000, it's, a little bit under $30,000 or $300,000, sorry. And then if we wanted to do it, we'd really have to work on financing it because that's not something we have money in hand for. So in talking to Michelle, our finance director, really there'd be 2 options, which is a COP or a bank loan. And the bank loan is pretty much what we did with purchasing of Mount Calvary. So those are the questions to pose right now. Obviously did not make our budget this year because we had other priorities. And while I think it's great that there's a 30% credit out there, is it worth taking out a loan or doing a COP in order to pay for it? Or do we just work on trying to fund it over a few years or wait to build up some funding to do it when it fits the priorities of the department? So that's really the question is, do we want to take advantage of that 30% tax credit that's going to go away?
I'll start, Eric. I mean, just my opinion, and I really respect this analysis that, it shows that there is a payback on this. I think it's just the amount of this money right now with where we are as a city is just not a good time right now. But I think this is something we can return to and maybe get into a future budget when, with the salary increases and everything are past this and we're stabilized on Brentwood, bound and everything. So, which is done, but, development.
Redevelopment, yeah.
Right. Just my opinion.
I concur with that. I also, I mean, it's a lot of money, and I've always advocated if, especially as we have the charger units there, ideally, I'd like them to be, the energy to be served to those charging units with solar panels, but this is a lot of money, and and I think that it also, I'm conflicted by doing something structurally like this when we know in the Parks Master Plan, we have several concepts and ideas of how to potentially renovate that building. And so I wouldn't want to do anything like this without really knowing clearly what we're going to do in the next even 10 years with that building, because that'll impact how these are installed, everything. So I think keep it in mind, but there's no reason to me to jump.
Understand. They're the ones who brought forth the concerns about the IRA, and I understand their concern. Doesn't mean that that will be the only tax credit or
That's right.
only grant opportunity in the future too. So we can continue to look for grants that aren't federally funded if
Sure.
we lose, if the IRA is ended. So just thought I wanted to bring it to you guys since they brought up a good point.
Sullivan, any other comments? Okay. All right. Thanks, Eric,
Thank you.
on that one. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll move on to who's next? Public Works. Dan.
Got quite a number of miscellaneous projects here with updates. The first one, Russell STP Deer Creek Part B. We did the final punch list with Navigate. There's a stencil and railroad signs that were needed on the trail. County won't do them because it's not within the county road. It's on the trail, and I know GRG couldn't do it, so we already put the signs up. We're waiting on the stencil. We ordered it, and then as soon as the weather breaks, we'll put that. So it'll be the railroad symbol that'll be on the trail on opposite sides of the track. Signs are already up. So that'll close that one out. FEMA capital projects, as most of you are aware, Frederick Roofing did the roof. The roof part's done. Now they're just focused on the gutters and downspouts. I know we turned in the capital portion that was FEMA reimbursable to Eric, so that should be taken care of. On the stormwater bid package 1, I had a little blurb here about Gonzalez and the title investigation. And I know Nancy Parker Tice had asked at the last one which ones had easement issues. So I put together, there's a little supplement, an Excel table. So if you go through that, you'll see like the site number that's referenced and then the corresponding address, the preliminary cost that Gonzalez had done, and then the most current estimated construction cost. And then lastly, a status for each of those. So of the 6 that are in bid package 1, the one that I highlighted in yellow, which is site 35, 2217 Park Ridge, MSD, after they did all their thorough reviews, said that that one couldn't be done as designed because all you'd be doing is putting in a pipe and an inlet and connecting to a pipe that's overloaded. It's a combined sewer. CSO Mary will take that combined sewer and separate it into sanitary and storm, but sanitary and storm changes won't be for a while. You know, I put in there September 1, 2026 is when they think construction would start on CSO Mary. And it's about a 3.5-year long project because it's not just in that area of Park Ridge and White, it's there plus 2 other areas in Brentwood. It's a huge project.
But Dan, in there, it said, but not address overland flow issues.
Correct. So they said, well, that would keep you from backing up on like a sanitary line if there's a storm because you're no longer on a combined sewer, so it shouldn't back up in your basement, but it wouldn't necessarily always mitigate overland flow because that home in particular that's at that intersection at that northwest corner of Park Ridge and White is at the low point of Park Ridge. So homes to the north drain towards that house. It's basically like in a bowl and you can't change that, you know. The only thing they could hope to do, I guess, would be some private solution around the home, whether it's now or in the future. I just know MSD said, you know, even when we separate this, it's still not going to make that home, you know, such that it won't flood.
So after CSO Mary, that would still potentially be a flooding problem in their basement going forward?
Could be, yeah, they didn't want to say that it would completely mitigate it.
But it wouldn't at least be coming up through the sanitary sewer?
Correct. But it's still year and a half or more in the future. But just want to make you aware of that. If we drop that one off the list, then 82,800 could in essence be saved. And then all that would do is give us more money for OMCIs that are on the list that are down one below this priority.
If I may interject, I know that the resident probably would not be happy with this update. So similarly to what we did on Mary Avenue, I thought that Dan could go back to MSD and ask if there is, why do they have to wait till they do the Mary CSO project? That maybe there's funding that they could address this sooner. But Dan says there are at least 2 other projects, 2 other addresses within the area that they're looking to resolve at the same time. But we should at least ask and see if they could help us sooner, and then at least come back with that so that the resident just doesn't have to wait till 2026.
But it sounds like even if they could do the work earlier, even if CSO Mary was happening right now.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily fix the problem.
No, the resident has to incur some additional expense in engineering design to fix the other problem, of being the low point.
Okay, so do you need a motion or something, Dan, to ask him that question?
I don't think he does, but to move that off the list so that if there's another project that we
Yeah.
could, yeah.
Yeah, I can do that.
Are we okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess the question ongoing, or the question that this sort of raises for me is, have we cross-referenced the full list that we have, knowing that Mary CSO project is extensive and it's crossing over lots of,
Yeah, we did.
have we
yeah.
cross-referenced those projects with the Mary CSO to find out if that might fix some of those problems, or if that might be a good time to plan for when we would do any of the other work? So I get.
Yeah, I've got a summary. We took the Gonzalez list of projects, sent it to MSD, and then they parsed through it and said, well, which one CSO Mary would touch? So
Okay.
we've got that. I can put it
Okay.
either in the weekly report or somewhere. And bring it back to this meeting. Yeah.
Okay. But we just didn't, maybe did we not know this one was going to be that way?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, got it.
Yeah.
Understood.
And Gonzalez, like I said, had sent plans for each of these 6, and then MSD's job is to look at those, see is it buildable, what does it resolve, or what does it solve? And then that one, they said, well, hydraulically, it's not really going to do much. If you connect it, it might help a little bit, but it's not going to, it's not a good use of your money if you're going to spend almost $83,000 and hardly get any improvement.
Yeah,
So that was good that they at least told us that.
yeah, that's good.
And then switching gears, Missouri American Water Company, we did our site walkthrough with planning and us, Public Works. There were just a few little items on their punch list. They still have to improve a curb that got broken, but that's dependent on the weather. It's an asphalt curb. And then over at Mary Avenue, when they did that change order for the mill and overlay, that was like $8,300. But they didn't do the crack sealing when they did Mary, and we worked out a trade. So my staff did the crack sealing, and they never sent us a bill for the milling and overlay, so we didn't have to incur the $8,300. So that's a good thing. Over on Manderley, this retaining wall, I had reached out to Novak. Novak's the one that did the north overhang of this building, as well as they're the general for the roof. Frederick is the sub, just to see what the quote would be. So they did send me a quote. I know it's over $25,000, so we would need to do an RFP. So just give you a little update on that. The street sweeper, because of the bad weather, we don't use it. If there's salt on the ground, we just don't use it. But as soon as this stuff washes away, we'll be able to use it again. We've got feedback from staff as to what the streets would look like, list-wise, so we'll start drafting something to bring back. Once we're actually sweeping on a routine basis, then we'll give you a list of each ward and what those streets would look like based on the new machine. Sanitation disposal RFP, that point number 7. Our current contract with Waste Connections had expired, so they wanted us to renew. We're gonna go out, see what the costs are, do an RFP, because there are at least 2, maybe 3 companies that you could deliver your trash to, and then they would charge you a cost per ton. So the previous contract was for a 20-year period, so it's pretty long, and now we're just paying month by month. But I know they want to renew the contract, but we really need to see what else is out there. The RFQ for the town center feasibility, I've got most of that written. I'll be hopefully wrapping it up tomorrow, send it to staff with the idea that we'll advertise it, get submittals back by the end of March, and then bring those back to the committee, assuming.
That's the RP that we approved at the last meeting, to go out and ask
Yeah.
for ideas.
Yes, yeah, for this town center, city hall, post office area. And then the Investment and Infrastructure Expo, that's in St. Charles next week at the St. Charles Convention Center on the 19th of February. So Brentwood and other municipalities will attend and present their capital projects. So you can see there's an attachment with the PowerPoint file that lists all their different projects. This is an opportunity. It's free for us since we're a presenter, but we can show everybody what projects we have, folks that are either contractors or consultants that do this line of work will be there. They actually produce a QR code for us, so you can just take your phone, take a picture, and then it has the whole presentation for you if you're interested in our projects. So there's quite a few projects in there, whether it's parks, with Hanley Park, or the police station, just that kitchen remodel. There's all sorts of projects that are listed in there. And then that's pretty much it. And then there's some follow-up from previous meetings. The slope issue over at 8829 Russell, I had reached out to the resident, with the 12-inch versus 6-inch. Then she said she wanted an 18-inch. So I don't know where it's going to end, but, if it's agreeable at 18, we could do that in the spring. There's no sense in trying to do anything now with the weather. And then street sweeper, we already talked about. Lewis Avenue, that's completely done. And then the trash receptacle, Alderwoman Tice had asked about, we used to have those 55-gallon drums. I had replaced a couple of those over by the high school with a more decorative one. If you're walking around, you'll see those with the rain bonnet on it. I plan on doing some more of those too, just phasing out the other ones and bring the drums back to Public Works.
Yeah, Jeff?
Can I circle back on the Russell Avenue?
Yeah.
So are we suggesting that we're going to be open to paying for an additional 6 inches of wall height when we've already gone from 6 inches to 12 inches?
That's what she wants, and I was like, well,
But
the 12 gets you what you need, which is the 3 to
Right.
1, so we don't necessarily have to do that.
I mean, the challenge that we had was from my perspective, is that we had designed it to be a certain slope.
Correct.
We couldn't meet that slope. So our solution, and TWM agreed to pay for a portion, that's great. So, a 12-inch wall gets you to that proper slope. It also is exactly what the property to the east is, so, it seems consistent. If she wants to add to it and pay extra, then but I think we need to, as a city, just say we're willing to do, to a certain point. Anything above and beyond that, that's it's not our responsibility. But I just want to provide some direction there. I don't want this to keep
No, yeah.
being left open.
I definitely agree, and I think as a standard practice, we would have her sign a release that once, is it done?
Nothing's been done.
Nothing's been done.
Yeah, nothing's been done. One, because we wanted to kind of see where this was going to go, and then
Yeah.
we met with TWM and they agreed to the 12-inch solution of kicking in pretty much most of it.
Yeah,
And that does solve, to your point, it gets you the 3 to 1. Anything taller would get it a little bit less steep, but it's not necessary.
right.
We know why she's asking for more.
I don't know. Yeah, she just said, well, I think it would look better at 18. It's like, well, where does it end? It could be 24. Eventually you're going to get too tall, and then it's going to have an
It's
impact.
put a railing.
Where you have railing, right. Yeah, because we at least moved the needle when it was either a block wall or concrete. And I said, well, the concrete's more durable. You know, the concrete is poured and it's
Yeah,
reinforced
yeah.
versus the block. They're just relying on the base
could
and then it
shift,
straps and
yeah.
it could shift. And
Okay, well, I mean, what do we need to?
we can write a
Guys
letter.
need
and-
any direction, any,
If there's concurrence with what you
yeah,
just said.
Yeah, I'll draft a letter and then say that this is our final offer, 12-inch. You've already got the plan. This is what we're going to do.
yep.
Everybody good with that? Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Hey, Dan, just the sanitation disposal RFP, so that, made my heart start beating faster because I remember the recycling problem we had a couple years ago, but we're not anticipating any challenges or issues with going out. I mean, it sounds like we have.
This is strictly for trash. It's not recycling.
Right,
So
right.
recycling we keep with Republic. The trash was being a different company other than Republic, but Republic does offer trash.
But we're
disposal.
on a month-to-month right now with Waste Management, so, or whoever it is, and,
Yeah,
so-
Waste Connections.
So either we find something better or we've got that locked in already at month to
Yeah, they
month.
sent me a draft of their 10-year that they want us to sign. I'm like, well, we really need to see what somebody else could offer
Yeah,
it per
okay.
ton. Because if you add it up, over the course of a year, it's way over $100,000. It's usually like 140, 150,000 annually for this disposal fee.
Okay, so you're not anticipating any problems with that or anything?
No.
Okay,
Yeah, they're willing to keep doing this monthly, but I said, well, we really need to see what's out there.
agree. Okay, thanks, Dan.
Yep.
All right, planning and development.
Good evening. The January monthly reports are included in your packet. We had 146 new building permits and 789 inspections. Code enforcement had 22 new cases in January and 37 inspections. We have issued an RFP for a nuisance abatement contractor, so that is on the city's website. And John is emailing those out to area landscapers to see if they're interested. Last night was the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. The Home Depot amendment to their CUP was continued to the March 12th meeting. Mount Calvary had also asked to be postponed to the March 12th meeting, but since it's been a while, I will resend out the public notice for that. The adult daycare received unanimous approval, so that public hearing will be on the March 3rd meeting. And the text amendment for self-storage in this facilities in the MC district also received approval, and that may be on the March 3rd meeting. Architectural Review Board is next week on Thursday. We have 4 items on that agenda. We had the January Board of Adjustment meeting had 2 items that were continued to the February meeting, and we got 2 new applications for it. However, we did not receive a quorum. We were looking at alternate dates, but could only get 4 members present, which would require unanimous approval. So the applicants had asked to move to the March 27th meeting. That's all I have.
Hey, Whitney, on the nuisance abatement contractor, typically we have 2 contractors on call, right? Is that what this RFP is for?
No, just one. We only have 1 for code enforcement. I think Eric, yeah, it's just 1 for the entire city.
I mean, that's grass cutting stuff, right?
Yeah, grass cutting, or if there's like trash and trash and debris.
I thought we had another one just in case the primary one was not available if we needed urgency. Okay. All right, great. Any other questions from anybody? All right, thanks, Whitney. Thanks, John. All right, we'll move into the consent agenda. All we have are some meeting minutes.
Motion to approve consent agenda?
Any comments, questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, we'll move into old business. Back to code enforcement. That was fast. Sorry, Whitney, we should have had you hang up there.
So if you remember, back in November of 2023, we were presenting, having a discussion on code enforcement and how the city could quicken our timeline. However, the municipal judge has raised some concerns, and therefore we wanted to bring back to you our normal policy and standard procedures. just so to make you aware of that timeline that we provide everybody. General timelines are listed in the memo. They range from 5 to 10 days, depending on the issue at hand. Grass is normally 5 days. For first notice, final notice is 5 days. However, tree removal, if it's a dead tree, or derelict vehicles, is 10 days. Hazardous tree is also 10 days. However, if anyone were to call us and go, I have someone scheduled, but they can't make it until 3 weeks from now, we always give the resident that consideration. But we do know that some people think that that's too long, but that is the process that we do provide. After the final notice, if there's no action, then it's sent to the courts for a summons. And the municipal judge will then consider the issue at hand at that time. It could be extended until another 2 to 4 weeks. Court dates, yeah. Yeah, court dates. So there's if there's something unique and extraordinary, as we have had some instances for that, he would consider an administrative search warrant, but his direction to us was that it needs to proceed to court first before any administrative warrants. Happy to provide further information or detail, but that's all in the memo, if you have any questions.
And this was all, we wanted to think about ways we could accelerate, right? So if we have an abatement issue or something, a code violation, it's sitting there for months and months, and our residents are saying, what are you doing about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like,
I mean, the best we can, it's like it's in process, but if they call and say, it's in process and we don't get a response, we try to
right.
speed that up. But if they call and go, oh, I'll have someone out next month, and then next month comes around and they don't have someone, and he's like, oh, it had to be extended a couple weeks, sometimes we have those instances. We're trying to keep it tighter, though.
Yep.
So,
Excuse me, I think our big change is now that the judge wants to have them come to court first before we can get administrative search warrants. So if typical weed violation, grass violation, it's a 2 5-day notices, we would have to issue a summons, so it could be another 2 to 4 weeks before they would come to court. They can always ask for a continuance. There'd be another 2 to 4 weeks after that. So by that time, the grass is that tall.
yeah.
That just makes it a little bit more difficult for us to try to keep things done in a timely manner.
So help me understand, I guess the judge is not here, so what's the problem we're solving by making sure they come to court first before we can, because the concern that I hear from you is by the time it gets through all of the process, having to go in then and actually abate the situation just becomes that much more difficult. What is his premise for?
His comment to us was that he doesn't feel that they're getting their due process.
Okay.
By us giving them 2 notices by our ordinance and by state statute, he wants them to come to his court first to be heard, and then he'll decide from there where to go with it.
So if somebody, we're just picking out
Right.
grass, right, for now, but could be any of these derelict property or whatever. Somebody who hasn't taken care of their property, let's just say that, house or property itself, for months, he thinks that they're gonna actually show up to court and talk about, I'm just concerned that, are they really gonna follow through with that? And then what do we do after that? If they don't show up to court, what do we do?
If they don't show up to court, he said he would consider the actions and consider issuing an administrative search warrant for us to proceed. He would take the evidence
And you
into
need a search
consider-
warrant just to even, like, go on the property.
Correct.
In the backyard to cut,
Abate any
to
violation.
cut the
Yes.
grass, for example.
Right.
Okay.
Any advice, recommendations? I mean, I know I've been in it. I'm sure you've been in it. Like, what are we doing about that? You know, that eyesore, whatever that thing is, and like, when will it be fixed? And like, well, it's going through the process, right? And like,
Right.
you know, and I mean, I agree with the due process, but I don't know. Any suggestions?
You don't want to hear mine?
This has been an ongoing discussion with the judge.
Yeah.
And the city's zoning council tried to convey to him how other cities do it to kind of mitigate his process, and he wasn't receptive to it. So that's why we're bringing it to you, because if during the growing season, all of a sudden you all start to get calls that this is not being addressed, it's because the process to resolve it is now taking longer.
Sounds like there's nothing we can do. Then,
No, there isn't.
okay. Any other comments, questions? All right, great conversation. After you guys. I'll be the first one to call. What are you doing about this?
All right.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, update on Brentwood Days operations and 2025 planning.
Yes, the update is, unfortunately, I have no update. I've been trying to get a hold of the carnival ride operator to talk to him about the options we discussed last time. I did have an initial conversation. They were receptive to renegotiating, whether it be reduction of rides or things like that. And so that's what they went back to kind of talk about with, talk to the wife, and she was talking to her husband, and I've not been able to get a hold or an answer for them since then. So I'll continue to push them and hopefully have an answer or have recommendations by the March meeting.
Okay, thanks, Eric. Any questions, comments?
Only thing I wanted to bring up is just the, and I should have brought this up at prior meetings, but if we had a majority of the respondents on, say they would prefer fireworks, is there any reason why we're sticking with the drone shows? Is it just because we already made the switch? Or what are our thoughts there? And I'm just going based purely on the 60%. I have no personal preference, but it's just majority of the respondents. Why not give them what they responded to?
I mean, ultimately, the fact is it was our first year, and hopefully it'll continue to get better. But more than anything else, I personally like, and the Sustainability Commission likes, the sustainability aspect behind drone shows. It's better for noise pollution. It's better for just regular air pollution because you don't have the smoke or the noise for both of those. The people who do like it are very thankful, especially when it comes to the noise pollution part of children or dogs or things like that. So that is why I would continue to recommend it. But ultimately, if the committee wants us to go back to fireworks, that's the committee's choice.
Yeah, I would also throw in that, you know, every year the fire department asks us not to do fireworks from a safety standpoint as well.
That is true. The fire chief was the happiest person in Brentwood Days last year. You know, as he always said, is the previous fire chief's like, we do fireworks trying to buy a lumber yard on one side, a lumber yard on the other side, woods on the third side, and residential homes on the fourth. He is much happier now with the drone show.
Yeah, I hear the concern. I mean, obviously, we want to gather input, and then if you see something that has a majority that says, hey, let's do this, and we decide not to. As far as the drone show goes, it was new and similar. I have a similar feeling about the wristband charging and all of that for rides. I think it's going to take a couple of years to really figure out how to do these really well and you know, get this worked out and to get more people kind of enjoying it and open to it. So while maybe we do eventually go back to fireworks, or we maybe eventually go back to a free event for everybody, I think we need to see this out to, you know, kind of see what improvements we can do to address some of the folks that maybe enjoyed it but would like to see something different. See if we can kind of tweak it and adjust it to get it better. The ones that were lukewarm about the drone show were commenting about, well, I wish it was longer, I wish it had better syncing with the music, or, things that probably could be adjusted, and with collaboration with the drone operator, that maybe that solves it for those. So anyway, just to keep those things in mind.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Eric. All right, we'll move into new business, Parks and Rec, capital update.
Yeah, so I had a couple updates on capital projects, and instead of doing it in my department report, I was like, ah, heck, I might as well just talk about all the capital projects. So that's what I kind of put together in the memo. The first is the Brentwood Park parking lot. So Jacobs, we had hired Jacobs to put together a design for the parking lot, and you guys have known that. So the next step is for the city to review and approve BMP easement and encroachment easement agreement with MSD. Those would both have to go to the Board of Aldermen. Once approved, the selected contractor would have up to a year to retrieve those permits. It's basically, you need those documents for the permitting. And if we go past a year, the city would have to go through that process again. And so what I said in the memo is I've heard that there's limited support for this project. And with the limited support of the project, is this something we should be preparing at this time? Or do we just basically put it on the shelf until we decide to come back at another time if we feel like the parking lot is needed in the future?
Thoughts?
I'll give my opinion. I don't see us doing this year. And it's just a very expensive parking lot. And I don't know that it's absolutely necessary. And then, so even though it may not cost anything for us to apply for it, the reality is we'll probably have to go through that process again because it's not likely that it's going to happen this year. So my opinion would be to shelve it and cross that bridge when we come to it.
All right. Is that clear, Eric? I think we just say shelve it.
Got it. So next is our ice resurfacer. So obviously, we put down the down payment for a new Olympia last year, and it's scheduled for delivery in March or early April. So it should be coming in hopefully soon. I think we made you guys aware that we were contacted by Olympia that said that if the tariffs were in place, that they might have to charge us that extra cost based on the purchase price of the Olympia. Thankfully, those tariffs have been put on hold, and we hope that they continue to be on hold until we get the Olympia in. We won't have to worry about it.
Is there anything we can do to get that in here faster? Like drive it down now?
We're asking. It's
I'm sure
like everything
everybody
else.
is.
They're
Okay.
putting on their last sort of stuff, and we're waiting by on that delivery date. So the next is the complex parking lot crack sealing, seal coating, and striping. That's another project that was in our budget for this year. We're obviously wanting to coincide this project when the ice rink goes down for its annual maintenance. So we're looking to be down in the ice rink late April through the middle of May. And so we've reached out to McConnell and Associates. They're the ones we got the quote from in the past to kind of put it in the budget. And they provided another quote of $22,297, which is still under budget, which is great. They're also part of the TIPS purchasing cooperative, and this project qualifies for that, so we can get them on board and get that done in early or late April and early May. So then the wetland arboretum project just kind of it continues to move on. The trees were planted late in December, so we did see a number of new trees down there. We are still wet, very wet down there, so we are hoping to be able to get the seeding down and the mulch path down later this month. We actually have a meeting with the contractor and our partners next week, and we'll kind of finalize some timeline, but we hope to continue to do that. And then we'll start looking at invasives, remediation, and other stuff in the spring and summertime. The Hanley Kupfer Station is a fourth quarter project, so there's really no update there. And last is Mount Calvary, or second to last, Mount Calvary. We're working on that bid design or the RFQ for the park design and bid documents. So we hope to have that RFQ completed end of this month, early next month, and put out to bid put out on the street. So that way we can come back to you guys no later than our April with a recommendation. And then finally, our park maintenance truck is, staff will be working on getting a truck ordered from the state contract, hopefully in the next month or two.
And that's the one we approved in the last budget, correct?
Correct.
This budget? Okay.
Yep.
Jeff?
Yeah, just reminder on the Brentwood Wetland Arboretum project, when you start getting into potential of doing invasive cleanup and other projects, reminder to reach out to the school district and maybe collaborate with them with some of their organizations like NHS and NJHS. Those organizations are always looking for school activities that they can get the students involved in that help them earn their, their whatever credits that they need. So,
Yeah.
I think it would be a good opportunity to get the school involved with that part of the project because it's so visible.
Great.
Any other comments, questions? All right, thank you, Eric. Move on to the next item, Charging Smart.
So this is another recommendation from the Sustainability Commission. So Charging Smart is a brand new program. It just actually got out of the pilot program, is now being offered statewide, and it's very much like Soul Smart. It's Soul Smart for EV charging. So much like Soul Smart, they offer free technical assistance to help local governments adopt policies, practices, and incentives that exemplifies recognized best practices for enabling efficient EV charging expansion. Much like Soul Smart, there's just a number of categories that you could get points in to try to get a silver, bronze, silver, or gold status. The criteria are organized in 6 different categories. You got planning, regulation, utility engagement, education and incentives, government operations, and shared mobility. So I kind of attached the criteria overview. It's a little bit different from Soul Smart. These Charge Smart has a way where you can get 5, 10, 15, 20 points, depending on the different sorts of length that you'll go. So that's kind of a little bit different, but it's basically the same way. We could working toward a bronze, to a silver, to a gold. And so the Sustainability Commission made a motion for the city to join this program and see what we can do at becoming a bronze, silver, and gold member.
Any questions, comments?
What is, I'm struggling with what does this get us? Other than, can it be acknowledged, I guess, in the region but does it give us access to grants, incentives? I'm just,
Maybe I'll take this one.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is that it gives us consistency, right? So just like Soul Smart was, do we have any ordinances or barriers that are preventing? And I remember always like solar panels were considered HVAC, so they
Right.
had to be covered, right? So we fixed that. So, it's a way of using their expertise for free to look at our ordinances, make sure there's nothing that is preventing us from being inconsistent, with everybody else. That's the biggest thing I like about it. I think it would be less time on our staff once we are consistent. If there's something that's weird and we have to take on a case-by-case basis with our ordinances or whatever, that's just burning up time of our staff. Ultimately, maybe there's some opportunity of future grants or something once we are one of the first ones through it, but that's just cherry on top.
but does it cost us to be part of the program, or is it like,
No, it's a free program.
Okay, all right. Well, I think if it's access to information and organization and all,
Consistency.
yep, okay.
I'll make a motion to join the Charging Smart program and work toward a gold designation.
I'll second that.
All right, any other comments, questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Lomo. Whitney, you doing Lomo?
Sustainability Commission had asked that we continue the LOMO April from 2024 to 2025. So we have a draft ordinance that will present for your approval and to forward on to the Board of Aldermen. Pretty much in line with last year, so.
Yeah, and this will make it permanent, right?
It will not make it permanent,
Permanent-ish.
it's just for 2025.
Okay,
We were told that the Sustainability Commission wanted us to review about making a text change to our ordinance to make it permanent. We do get complaints in March, so we have a concern with that. And when we update the 2024 codes, we thought we might throw it in then. But right now, we're just doing similar to last year, just doing it temporary for this year.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to keep it as a temporary thing, especially for now. But I don't see any issue with continuing it like we did last year. So I'll make a motion that we continue to do the low mow April.
Second.
All right, any comments, questions?
The only comment that I would have is just making sure that it's clear that it's low mow, not the no mow, and the reasons why. Yeah.
Which, do you see any no mo?
Oh, there was in the synopsis, it talked about no mow April, which is, just making sure that when we talk about it as a
It's
city,
low
that
mow,
it's
yeah.
low mow April. Yeah.
Okay,
And the benefits of doing it every 2 weeks versus either more frequent, or even if you let it go longer, sometimes there's some adverse effects of that as well. So in the communication of it to the community, I think it's important.
all right, any other comments, questions? All right, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All righty. All right, sanitation, bulk items. Dan, we're all over the place tonight.
This particular item was actually brought to the Ways and Means Committee, just so you know. But basically, the way we handle household pickups, whether you're disposing of a couch or a refrigerator, it's like you would typically call City Hall, or you can call Public Works. We fill out a ticket. Then the driver and the people that help him go out there, pick it up, drop the tickets back off with the finance department. Finance sends an invoice. Well, the way that operations has been working is some people don't pay. So we've already done the service, and then, we don't get the money. So that's what's included in your memo here, is how much that accounts receivable was waiting on for these payments. So to make this more efficient and streamline it and make it better, we would ask that the person pays up front. So if you had, again, same scenario where say it's a mattress and a lawnmower, you can go through MyGov, go ahead, schedule it, we still do the service, and then we are done, as far as Public Works. The only time it would change is if you put 2 items out and say one of them was picked up, it's a lawnmower, somebody picked it up, then that person can ask for a refund. The driver's gonna true up the list, so we'll still give them tickets. And if they add to it as well, so if you had a lawnmower and a box spring and then all of a sudden you decided to throw your couch out there, we know that we were expecting 2 items, but now there's 3. We can pick up that 3rd item, but then we need to generate another invoice. So operationally, this changes, but we just wanted to make you aware, because you might have people calling you. It's like, well, why is this different?
Well, it seems like a brilliant thing to do, honestly, and I can't believe it's
Yeah.
$140,000 of arrears at this point, or however much it is.
Yeah, and for the bulk, it was like, I think, 22,000, trash billing.
Is there any conversation at Ways and Means about recouping that? Like if somebody calls in and we think it's the same occupancy permit and say you still owe us for this other time?
Oh, absolutely. I believe Alderman Sully.
Yeah, we discussed it. Michelle, I mean, we're not going to write those off as bad debts. We're going to go after those. I don't know exactly how, but yeah, they are going to look to collect on those. And then I actually suggested, if we can, putting some type of, after, second, third, fourth failed attempt to collect payment, reaching out to credit agencies and having it reported. I mean, I figure if we're reporting to cable companies that you haven't returned equipment, then might as well be able to do something like this. So not sure exactly how that all works, but I think it's worthwhile.
Do you need anything from us, or is Ways and Means handling this?
A motion in concurrence with the Ways and Means to go forward with the policy change, collection change.
I'll make a motion to update the procedures in regards to the bulk item pickups.
I'll second that.
All right, any comments, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. All right, concrete sidewalk cutting contract, the CSCC.
Yeah, we at Public Works found out about this company, this Precision Concrete Cutting. I thought it was just grinding. You know, we have a grinder and a vacuum, and we'll go out there. If there's a little bit of vertical, say anywhere from like 1/2 inch to like 3/4, we can typically grind at that lip and feather that out and get it smooth again. This company deals with more severe hazards, so say like 1 to 2 inch. You know, typically your slabs are 4 inches thick, so they don't want to take more than 50% of the thickness. But say you're in that anywhere from say 3/4 to 2 inch range, and it's strictly where the two slabs abut each other, they can actually cut that sectional area and then make it ADA compliant. You know, they'll get it down to under 1/4 of an inch of vertical. So we wanted to try this out as a pilot program, and if it works well, then we would roll it out and do it year over year. You know, we've actually looked at 80% of our sidewalks. We've got a table, and now we just need to sit down with them and figure out which are candidates. We also have other tools. This would just be another tool to add to our chest. So I know you're aware we've done the poly leveling where it's the foam that you inject and raise those up, but you need multiple slabs. We do the grinding, and then we do conventional tear out and replacement with either concrete or the rubber weight material. So this would just be one more way to look at a sidewalk and possibly, you know, fix it, especially like where a tree lifts up with its roots, you know, where you've got that vertical, and you don't want to necessarily tear out 2 or 3 slabs to get it back to normal. You might be able to plane that section out and get it to normal. So we're looking at a not to exceed of $10,000. We don't have to spend that. We'll just know that we could spend up to that. And it's in the budget as far as sidewalks and streets.
Comments?
So this isn't a replacement of the in-house stuff that we can do. This is
Correct.
just in extreme cases.
Yeah, where we
where
can't grind it.
we maybe would have been relegated to breaking it up and putting a new one in.
Right. It would save.
This saves us from having to do that ultimately, and maybe prolongs the time that we would be able to need to do that. Okay.
Yeah, they said it takes a very short amount of time. So whenever we get closer to doing it, assuming we want to move forward, then we can alert you and you can.
And we have, you've identified several areas that you
Yeah, we
think-
need to send them a list, but I know that we've talked to some of their other customers and they've, you know, been favorable. It's like they've done work in, I believe, Indiana and a couple other states. And, you know, they've got a St. Louis footprint now.
Okay. No, but I mean, you have identified sidewalks that
We
that
have.
need this?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's in the budget and it's a good resource to have. I'll make a motion that we recommend approval of the pilot program to contract with PCC. Does it need to go to the full board?
I will bring it to the full board, not the one on Tuesday, but the one after
Yeah,
that.
okay. And to take it to the full board.
Second.
All right, any comments, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Parking structure, Whitney and John.
So we just wanted to provide an update. It changes pretty much daily, it seems. Back in October, there was some concerns of the condition of several of the parking structures in the city. So we, in partnership with the fire department, sent out violation notices and did some inspections. For the most part, they are completed work, or they have a contract, but they're waiting for better weather right now. We did have a concern of one facility, but yesterday they provided us with additional information. Talk about the villas. So
We started, or they started work on it back in October and weren't real forward with us on what was going on. some of this stuff was found out after the fact. So, we've been trying to watch them. They did quit work all of a sudden for some reason and moved, I think they had another job out of town. Didn't tell us they left, just let everything go. So after some emails from the other day, they have now gotten back with us. They are supposed to be back in town starting next week with steel coming in. And the week after that, they're gonna be sandblasting all these bar joists that are bad to see how bad they are. I mean, you can tell by looking at them how bad they are, but they wanna sandblast them and see how bad they actually are, see if they need to replace more than what we even think. They've done some temporary shoring, which was kind of not done properly, and so I'm gonna make them repair that stuff too. But it was just kind of a concern here because they've already had 2 floors drop, so.
So we just wanted to provide an update at this time. We may, at the next stage, want to bring in our on-call engineer with Horner and Schifrin. So if there is a task order that is over 2,500, we will bring that back to you.
Yeah, I said it before and I'll say it again. I think we saved some people's lives with this. I really do. So good job, everybody.
Not done yet.
Well, I know, but it's safer than it was, right?
Yeah.
They're starting.
Thank you. Okay, citizen comment?
There's no one online.
All right, seeing no new business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.